Hello everybody, welcome to a new video of Baldur's Gate 3. In this episode, I'm gonna share my Helm's Cleric build. And surprise, it's another multi-class build for the Wizard class. We are gonna make this build with Abjuration Wizard and Life Domain Cleric. Helm is another frequently mentioned deity in Baldur's Gate 3, though not as frequent as Selûne or Shar. He is the deity of protection, such a great match with an Abjuration Wizard, isn't it? So here comes this build, a Helm's Abjurator kind of setting. This build has 1 level of Life Domain Cleric and 11 levels of Abjuration Wizard. I think it's one of the best support builds I've seen. It gets the best protection abilities from the Abjuration Wizard subclass to significantly reduce incoming damage to your team. It gets the best healing capacity from the Life Domain. It can buff the whole team in combat thanks to the Cleric class. It has all kinds of nice utility spells from both Wizard and Cleric classes. It has amazing survivability for a mage build thanks to the Abjuration Wizard class and the heavy armor proficiency we get from Life Domain. And it can cast some strong control spells when it's necessary. Let me break down its core abilities. At the Abjuration Wizard level 2, you get the ability Arcane Ward. It reduces incoming damage by an amount that equals the ward's intensity. At the start of each day, you get an intensity that equals your wizard level. It can be charged to twice your wizard level. And every time you cast an abjuration spell, the ward's intensity charges by the amount of the spell's level. Anytime you take damage, the ward prevents an amount that equals its intensity, and its intensity lowers by 1 after. In the late game, you constantly have a ward intensity around 19. It's not rare to see an enemy finally hits you with a critical hit, but deals 0 damage. At level 6, you get the ability Projected Ward. With this, you can use your ward to protect 1 ally each turn as a reaction. Remember to untoggle your opportunity attack, in case you waste your reaction on that and cannot cast your protection reactions. At level 10, you get the ability Improved Abjuration. Now, every time you short rest, your ward's intensity charges by an amount equal to your wizard level. At this point, you will be very hard to kill. Then, from the life domain of the cleric class, we get the ability Disciple of Life, which makes your healing spells heal additional hit points. And this ability scales only with spell slot levels, so you don't need to stick to the cleric class to make use of it. And because you are that good at protecting your team, you don't really need to heal them much. This is why we only need 1 level in Life Domain Cleric. Besides protecting and healing, another core ability we'll be using is the Cleric spell Bless. It gives the target a 1d4 bonus to attack rolls and saving throws, making them stronger both on the offense and the defense. This will be the spell you concentrate on in every battle. When cast at level 1, it targets 3 units, and when upcast, it can target 1 more unit for every level increased. And if you include yourself in the target, this spell protects its own concentration. Then, in the late game, we can learn the ultimate abjuration spell in the game, Globe of Invulnerability. This spell prevents anyone inside it from any damage, making them totally invulnerable. You need to maintain concentration on it, but if you stay inside it yourself, you can't be hurt, so normally you won't lose the concentration on it. The only problem here is that you need to stop concentrating on Bless when using this. Okay, now let's talk about the leveling strategy, when to level into each class and what you can do in different stages of the game. We start this build with the Cleric class to be able to heal and support from the right beginning. When originally allocating ability scores, we give the major bonus to Intelligence and bring it to 17, which is the highest possible for now. We'll eventually get it to 20. This is to maximize our casting ability. All of our offensive spells will come from the Wizard class, which uses Intelligence to cast the spells. Then we give the minor bonus to Constitution and bring it to 16. This is to increase our hit points and thus our survivability. It also increases our chance to maintain concentration when taking damage. Then we forego 2 Charisma to bring Wisdom to 13. We'll make it 14 later in the game. Wisdom makes you better at sensing danger and noticing hidden things, which is valuable when exploring. And it also makes you hard to control by the most powerful control spells in the game. And because we start as a cleric, we have a proficiency bonus for wisdom saving throws, which is +2 for now and will eventually become +4 at level 9. So our effective wisdom is even higher than 14 when making saving throws. We leave strength unchanged at 10. We can't sacrifice it. We don't use strength, but we are wearing heavy armor, which requires us to carry heavy loads, so we need at least 10 strength. We also leave dexterity unchanged at 10, because heavy armor forbids us to get AC from dexterity. So it's not that beneficial to raise dexterity above 10. Right at Cleric level 1, we can choose into the life domain and get the ability Disciple of Life to make our healing spells much more efficient. Life domain also gives you proficiency in heavy armor, and we also get our core spell Bless from life domain. This is your domain spell and will always be prepared without consuming a prepare slot. For the Cleric cantrips, we choose 3 utility cantrips. There is no point in choosing anything offensive from the Cleric class, because Clerics use Wisdom to cast spells, not Intelligence. So first, we choose Light to illuminate things and see the surroundings more clearly. Then we choose Guidance. I think it's a must-have for any Cleric build. It gives the target a 1d4 bonus to all ability checks, making your exploring and conversations much easier. Then, Thaumaturgy, which gives you advantage in intimidation and performance ability checks. For the starting Cleric spells, we can prepare 2. First, we choose Healing Word. This allows you to heal someone with a bonus action. Then, we choose Sanctuary. This spell grants the target an almost absolute protection. The affected unit cannot be targeted, which means enemies cannot attack them, but you can still be affected by AoE abilities. It only costs a bonus action too. This effect lasts until the affected unit harms anyone, and in the one turn after the effect ends, you cannot be cast Sanctuary on again. This is an abjuration spell. It can later charge your arcane ward's intensity for at least 1. Level 1 is also when clerics choose their deities. You get exclusive interactions in the story for the deity you chose. Maybe there is more to that, but I'm not sure yet. For this build, of course, I'm choosing Helm here. His domains are Life, Light, and Twilight. Baldur's Gate 3 doesn't limit your choice of deity. You can choose any deity regardless of your domain. But in classic D&D 5e rules, a cleric can only choose a domain that their deity has. From level 2 to level 12, we'll be leveling up in the Wizard class to get the most out of Abjuration Wizard. For the Wizard cantrips, first we choose Bone Chill. It deals ranged necrotic damage and prevents the target from healing for 1 turn. This will be one of our default attacks, dealing damage and doing some control at the same time. Then, Ray of Frost. This is a ranged attack that deals cold damage. The amount is the same as Bone Chill, and it lowers the enemy's movement. Then we choose Shocking Grasp. This is a melee attack that deals lightning damage. It has an advantage on enemies with metal armor, and if you land the hit, the enemy can no longer use reaction anymore, and you can walk away safely without getting an opportunity attack. For the Wizard starting spells, first we choose Shield, a must-have for any Wizard build. It's a reaction that gives you another 5 AC for 1 turn when you need it, making you harder to be hit. Then we choose Find Familiar. This allows you to summon a creature into your party to help with combat and exploring. Once summoned, they'll be there until their hit points get reduced to 0. It's a ritual spell, which means if you cast it outside of combat, it doesn't consume your spell slot. And the summon spells don't need to stay prepared once the creature is summoned. Then we choose Lone Strider, which I think is a must-have for any party. It increases the target's moving distance for the whole day without concentration, as long as the spell is still prepared. And it's a ritual spell too. Then we choose Enhanced Leap and Feather Fall. These 2 spells combined give your party more freedom when exploring the map, and they are ritual spells. Then we choose Disguise Self, which allows you to assume a false identity. This can be useful in places where a certain race has benefits, and again, it's a ritual spell. At Wizard level 1, you also get the ability Arcane Recovery. You can recover your spell slots of a combined level that is less than or equal to half your Wizard level, rounded up. At level 3, we choose into the Abjuration School and get the ability Arcane Ward. At this level, we can also learn the spell Force Life. This spell gives you some temporary hit points. This effect lasts a whole day as long as you don't take damage and lose those hit points. So you only need to cast it at the beginning of the day. At level 4, we can learn and prepare the spell See Invisibility. This is one of the best abilities of a wizard. It lasts a whole day and doesn't need concentration, but you do need to keep it prepared. We also get to learn Knock. This spell can unlock any lock, no matter its difficulty class, unless the story forbids it. At level 5, we get to choose our first feat. Here, we choose Ability Improvement to bring our intelligence to 18 and our wisdom to 14, giving them both another +1 modifier. We can also learn and prepare the spell Misty Step. It is useful both inside and outside of combat by teleporting for quite a distance. At level 6, we can learn a powerful spell that every mage should learn, Counterspell. This allows you to completely negate an enemy spell as a reaction. Counterspell can negate any spell whose level is not higher than the spell slot you spent. If the spell's level is higher, you still get a chance to negate it, but you need to make an ability check. As a level 3 Abjuration spell, it charges our Arcane Ward by at least 3. We also get to learn the spell Remove Curse to better protect our allies. This is another level 3 Abjuration spell, so it charges our Arcane Ward by at least 3. At level 7, we get our second special school ability, Projected Ward. Now we can use our Arcane Ward to protect our team. At this level, we can also learn an offensive Abjuration spell, Glyph of Warding. It's a large AoE trap spell that triggers when an enemy steps into it. There are many triggerable effects to choose from. It can deal elemental damage, or push the enemies away, or force them to fall asleep. I only recommend using the sleep effect because the others are not worth a spell slot for this build. And again, as a level 3 Abjuration spell, it charges our Arcane Ward by at least 3. At level 8, we can learn the spell Conjure Minor Elemental to summon another unit for our party, which is recommended for any mage build. At level 9, we can choose our second feat. Here, we choose Ability Improvement to increase our intelligence to 20, the cap, maximizing our spell casting ability. At level 10, we can learn the spell Conjure Elemental to summon a stronger unit for our party. And we can learn another nice offensive Abjuration spell, Planar Binding. We can use it to bind a celestial, elemental, fey, or fiend creature and force it to fight as an ally. As a level 4 Abjuration spell, it charges our Arcane Ward by at least 4. At level 11, we get our final special school ability, Improved Abjuration. Now we can constantly maintain an Arcane Ward intensity of around 19. At this level, we can also upcast Conjure Elemental to summon the strongest unit we can summon for our party. At level 12, we get to learn our ultimate Abjuration spell, Globe of Invulnerability. As a level 6 Abjuration spell, it charges our Arcane Ward by 6. Both this and the upcast Conjure Elemental use a level 6 slot, but you only have one level 6 slot, and your recharge ability cannot recharge a level 6 slot. Normally, this slot is more useful to upcast Conjure Elemental, but if you can find something in the game that allows you to recharge the level 6 slot, you can have them both. Okay, we have talked about how good this build is, now let's talk about its weaknesses. One weakness of this build is that you can't carry a lot of things. You are wearing heavy armor and you only have 10 strength, so you need to carefully plan what this character carries. Then, is the typical problem of an Abjuration Wizard build. You are not good at dealing damage, though neither can most enemies harm you and you can eventually kill them with your continual attacks, but that takes time. So in combats that need you to do things fast, you can't rely on this build to kill things. And then it's your spell slots. You have a lot of nice spells, but you only have that many spell slots. So you can't just go into a combat thinking I can do everything come what may. You need to have a clear idea about how you will fight this combat and where to spend your slots. Otherwise, you will soon have no resource to use. And that is everything about this Helm's Abjurator build. Hope you like it. And if you like this video, please click the like button and subscribe to my channel. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.